Every spring, it's the same routine. You drive to the garden center, you load 4 or 5 bags of fertilizer into the back of the truck, you hand over $50, $60, maybe $80 at the register, you haul it all home, and you spread it across your beds. And then next spring, you do the exact same thing all over again. And the spring after that, and the spring after that, year after year, the same trip, the same money, the same bags. And here's the part that used to drive me crazy. After 20 years of buying fertilizer, my soil didn't look any different than when I started. It was still the same tired, pale, compacted dirt it had always been. I was spending money every single year, and the soil itself never actually improved. It just waited for the next bag. Meanwhile, my Amish neighbor Daniel has never bought a bag of fertilizer in his life, not once, and his soil is the darkest, richest, most alive soil I've ever put my hands in. You can push your fingers into it like it's cake. It's crawling with worms. It smells like a forest floor after rain, and his garden outproduces mine every single season. I finally asked him what he uses on his soil, and he almost laughed. He said, "I don't use anything on it. I feed it." Then he walked me over to his compost pile, and everything I thought I knew about fertilizer started to fall apart. Today, I'm going to show you the exact method the Amish use to make the most powerful fertilizer you'll ever put on your garden, and it won't cost you a single dollar. Everything you need, you probably already have. And stay with me to the end, because I'm going to share a simple compost tea trick that Daniel taught me that can speed up the whole process and give your plants a boost. You have to see to believe. Let me start with the idea that changed everything for me, because this is the foundation of the entire Amish approach. And once you understand it, you'll never look at a bag of fertilizer the same way again. When you spread synthetic fertilizer on your garden, what you're doing is feeding the plant. You're delivering a dose of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium directly to the root zone. The plant takes it up, uses it, and grows. That works. I'm not going to tell you it doesn't work, because it does, but here's what it doesn't do. It doesn't feed the soil. The microorganisms, the fungi, the bacteria, the worms, the entire living ecosystem in the ground that makes soil actually healthy. Synthetic fertilizer doesn't feed any of them. In fact, over years of heavy synthetic use, that microbial life actually declines. The soil becomes more compacted, holds less water, and becomes more and more dependent on the next application of fertilizer to produce anything. You end up on a treadmill. The more you use, the more you need. Compost does the opposite. When you add compost to your soil, you're not just delivering nutrients to the plant, you're feeding the entire living system in the ground. The bacteria break it down. The fungi distribute nutrients through their networks. The worms aerate the soil and leave behind castings that are loaded with plant-available nutrition. The organic matter holds moisture like a sponge, and all of that biological activity makes nutrients available to your plants slowly, steadily, and in a form they can actually use efficiently. The soil gets better every single year, not worse, better. That's the Amish principle in one sentence. Don't feed the plant. Feed the soil, and the soil will feed the plant. Daniel's family has been doing this for generations, and their soil is living proof that it works. Now let's talk about what goes into the pile, because this is simpler than most people think. The Amish use a system of browns and greens. Those aren't exact colors. They're categories. Browns are carbon-rich materials. They're the dry, woody, fibrous stuff. Dried leaves, straw, hay, cardboard torn into pieces, wood shavings, dried corn stalks, newspaper. You know what? It's dry and crunchy. It's a brown. Greens are nitrogen-rich materials. They're the wet, fresh, living stuff. Kitchen scraps like vegetable peels, fruit cores, coffee grounds and eggshells, fresh grass clippings, fresh garden waste like the plants you pull at the end of the season, and if you have access to it, animal manure, chicken manure, horse manure, cow manure, rabbit manure. The Amish always have manure available because they keep animals, and it's one of the richest nitrogen sources there is. Now, if you don't have farm animals, that's completely fine. I didn't have manure when I started composting. You can make excellent compost with kitchen scraps, grass clippings, coffee grounds, and fresh garden waste as your greens. If you want to add manure, check with local farms, horse stables, or even rabbit owners in your area. Many of them will give it to you for free because they need to get rid of it, but it's not required. The system works beautifully either way. A few things: you should never put in the pile. No meat, no dairy, no cooked food with oils or sauces. These attract rodents and create odor problems. No pet waste from dogs or cats because it can carry pathogens. No diseased plants because the disease organisms can survive and spread when you apply the compost. And no wood treated with chemicals or pressure-treated lumber scraps. Keep it clean, keep it natural, and the pile will take care of itself. Here's where we get to the actual building, and this is the step that most people either skip or do wrong. The Amish don't just throw everything in a heap and hope for the best. They layer it deliberately, and the layering is what makes the difference between a pile that sits there for a year doing nothing and a pile that transforms into black gold in 6 to 8 weeks. Start by choosing a spot for your pile. You want it on bare ground, not on concrete or a paved surface. Ground contact lets the worms and soil organisms move up into the pile from below, which speeds everything up. A spot with partial shade is ideal because it keeps the pile from drying out too fast in summer. Put it close enough to your garden that hauling the finished compost isn't a chore, but far enough from your house that you're comfortable with it. The minimum size for a pile that will heat up properly is 3 feet wide by 3 feet deep by 3 feet tall. That's roughly the size of a large washing machine. Anything smaller than that doesn't have enough mass to generate and hold the internal heat that drives rapid decomposition. Bigger is fine. Daniel's pile is usually about 5 feet by 5 feet by 4 feet tall, but 3 by 3 by 3 is your minimum. Start with a layer of coarse browns on the bottom, straw, small sticks, or corn stalks about 4 to 6 inches deep. This creates airflow at the base. Then add a layer of greens about 2 to 3 inches deep, kitchen scraps, fresh grass clippings, manure if you have it, then a layer of browns on top of that, about 4 to 6 inches, then another layer of greens. Keep alternating. The ratio you're aiming for is roughly 3 parts brown to 1 part green by volume. You don't need to measure it precisely. Just make sure you always have significantly more brown material than green material. That ratio gives you the right balance of carbon and nitrogen for the microbes to do their work efficiently. As you build each layer, moisten it lightly with a hose or a watering can. You want the material to feel like a wrung-out sponge, damp throughout, but not dripping wet. Too dry and the microbes can't work. Too wet and you suffocate them and create an anaerobic mess that smells terrible. That damp sponge feel is your target every time. Finish the pile with a layer of browns on top. This acts like a cap that holds in moisture and heat and keeps the pile looking tidy. Now, what I've shared with you so far is a real piece of the puzzle, but it's still just one piece. If you want a garden that truly works with you instead of against you, one where the soil does most of the work because you built it right, I'd really encourage you to check out the guide I put together. It's called the 30-Day Amish Pest-Proof Garden Protocol, and it's everything I've learned from my Amish neighbors over the last 3 decades, organized into a simple day-by-day plan you can start this season. It covers the full 5 defense layers to build a garden that defends itself from the soil up. It's got the complete 4-bed crop rotation system that stops disease and pests before they ever get a foothold, and it includes the companion planting field guide so you know exactly what to grow next to what and why. Click the link in the description right below this video. Just scroll down a little and you'll see it. Or if you're watching on a television or computer screen, take out your phone, open up your camera like you're going to take a picture, and hold it up to the QR code on screen right now. A little link will pop up at the top of your phone screen. Just tap that and it'll bring you right to the guide. No typing, no searching. Either way works. I think it's the best investment you can make in your garden this year. Now let's talk about managing the pile, because this is where the real transformation happens and where most people who've tried composting before went wrong. Once your pile is built, within a few days the interior is going to start heating up. If you push your hand into the center of the pile, it should feel noticeably warm, even hot. That heat is coming from billions of thermophilic bacteria breaking down the organic material at an incredible rate. A well-built pile can reach internal temperatures of 130 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit within the first week. That heat is doing 2 important things. It's accelerating decomposition, breaking everything down much faster than a cold pile ever could, and it's killing weed seeds. and pathogens. At 130 degrees and above, most weed seeds are destroyed, which means you won't be spreading weeds across your garden when you apply the finished compost. That's a detail the Amish figured out through generations of observation long before anyone had a compost thermometer. Your job during this phase is simple. You need to turn the pile and monitor the moisture. Turning means taking a pitchfork or a shovel and flipping the pile, moving the outside material to the inside and the inside material to the outside. This does two things. It introduces fresh oxygen, which the microbes need to keep working, and it moves the cooler outer material into the hot center where it can break down. Turn the pile every 7 to 10 days. When you turn it and see steam rising from the center, that's a great sign. That's active thermophilic decomposition happening right in front of you. Daniel turns his pile every Saturday morning. It takes him about 15 minutes with a pitchfork. That's the total weekly time investment. Every time you turn the pile, check the moisture. Grab a handful from the center and squeeze it. If water drips out, it's too wet. Add dry brown material and mix it in. If it feels dry and crumbly, it needs water. Spray it down as you turn it until you get back to that wrung out sponge consistency. If the pile smells sour or like ammonia, you've got too much nitrogen and not enough carbon. Add more browns and turn it well. If it smells like rotten eggs, it's gone anaerobic from too much moisture and not enough air. Turn it thoroughly and add dry browns. A healthy pile should smell earthy and warm, almost pleasant. If it smells bad, something is off, and the fix is almost always more browns, more air, or both. After about 6 to 8 weeks of regular turning, the pile will have shrunk to about half its original size. The temperature will have dropped because the microbes have consumed most of the easily available material. The color will have changed from a mix of recognizable scraps and straw to a uniform dark brown, almost black. The texture will be crumbly and loose, and the smell will be exactly like rich forest floor. That's finished compost. That's the Amish fertilizer that costs nothing and outperforms everything you can buy in a bag. To use it, spread it across your garden beds 2 to 4 inches deep for new beds you're building from scratch, or 1 to 2 inches as an annual top dressing on established beds. You can work it into the top few inches of soil with a garden fork, or simply lay it on top and let the worms pull it down. The best time to apply it is in the fall, so it has all winter to integrate into the soil biology. But spring application works well too. You really can't overdo it. I've never seen a garden get too much compost. Every year you apply it, the soil gets darker, looser, more alive, and more productive. That compounding effect is the real magic. My soil after 8 years of composting looks completely different than it did when I was buying bags of 10-10-10. It's not even close. Let me share some patterns I've noticed where the conventional approach and the Amish approach handle things differently. I did every one of these for years, so there's no judgment here. The first pattern is buying fertility instead of building it. When you buy synthetic fertilizer, you're renting nutrition for one season. When you make compost, you're building permanent soil wealth. Every bag of fertilizer you spread is gone by the end of the growing season. Every batch of compost you apply becomes part of the soil forever. The organic matter stays. The microbial life multiplies. The water holding capacity increases over 3, 5, 10 years. The difference is staggering. The Amish never rent their fertility. They own it. The second pattern is throwing away compostable materials. Most of us bag our leaves in the fall and put them at the curb. We throw our kitchen scraps in the trash. We haul our garden waste to the dump. Every single one of those materials is free fertility that could be going back into the soil. Daniel doesn't throw away anything organic. It all goes into the pile. Leaves, scraps, straw, old plants, manure. It all cycles back. He told me once, nothing leaves the farm. Everything comes back around. When you start seeing your kitchen scraps and yard waste as free fertilizer instead of garbage, you know your whole relationship with waste changes. The third pattern is building a pile and ignoring it. This is the most common reason people say composting didn't work for them. They pile everything up, walk away, and check on it 6 months later to find a damp, matted heap that barely decomposed. The pile needs air and the right moisture level to work. If you turn it every 7 to 10 days and keep it properly moist, 6 to 8 weeks gives you finished compost. If you ignore it, you might wait a year and still not have anything usable. The difference is 15 minutes a week. That's all it takes. The fourth pattern modern is overcomplicating it. There's a whole industry built around making composting seem complicated. Tumbler bins, activator powders, inoculants, special thermometers, multi-chamber systems. The Amish use a pile on the ground and a pitchfork. That's it. Browns, greens, water, air time. The microbes do the work. You just give them the right conditions. Daniel doesn't own a compost thermometer. He pushes his hand in and feels the heat. He doesn't buy activators. He lets the billions of organisms already in the soil and the manure do their job. Keep it simple and it works. Overcomplicate it and you'll quit before you see results. Now here's the bonus I promised at the beginning. This is a trick Daniel showed me about 5 years ago that I use all the time now, especially in spring when I want to give my transplants and young plants a quick natural boost. Compost tea. This is different from just spreading compost on the soil. Compost tea is a liquid extract that concentrates the microbial life and water-soluble nutrients from your finished compost into a form you can apply directly to the soil around your plants or even spray on the leaves as a foliar feed. It's like giving your garden a probiotic drink. Here's how to make it. Take a 5-gallon bucket and fill it about 1/3 full with finished compost. Good, dark, crumbly compost from your pile. Fill the rest of the bucket with water. If you're using tap water, let it sit uncovered for 24 hours first to allow the chlorine to dissipate because chlorine kills the beneficial microbes you're trying to cultivate. Now here's Daniel's trick that makes this work even better. Drop a small aquarium air pump with a bubbler stone into the bucket and let it run. The oxygen accelerates the microbial reproduction dramatically. Without the bubbler, your tea is still useful, but with it, the microbial population explodes over 24 to 48 hours. You'll see the water start to foam slightly on the surface. That's microbial activity. Let it brew for about 24 to 48 hours with the bubbler running, stirring it a couple times a day if you don't have a pump. After 48 hours, strain out the solids through burlap or a piece of window screen. What you've got is a rich, dark liquid loaded with beneficial bacteria, fungi, and dissolved nutrients. Apply it to the base of your plants with a watering can or pour it into a pump sprayer and mist it directly onto the leaves in the early morning before the sun gets strong. Use it within a day of making it because the microbial life starts to decline once you stop aerating it. I make a batch every couple of weeks during the growing season and apply it to my tomatoes, peppers, squash, and greens. The first thing you notice is the color of the foliage. Deeper, richer green almost immediately. The plants just respond to it in a way that's visible within days. Daniel's been doing this his whole life, and he says his grandmother did it before him, though she just stirred hers with a stick instead of using an air pump. Now, everything I've shared with you today is a complete system for making the best fertilizer your garden has ever had, and it won't cost you $1. But this is still just one piece of a much bigger picture. If you want the full 5 defense layers, the 4-bed rotation plan that tells you exactly where to apply your compost each year for maximum effect, and the companion planting field guide that shows you what to grow next to what, I'd encourage you to grab a copy of the 30-day Amish Pest-Proof Garden Protocol. It's everything I've learned from my Amish neighbors over 3 decades, laid out in a simple day-by-day plan. Click the link in the description right below this video. Just scroll down a little and you'll see it. Or if you're watching on a television or computer screen, take out your phone. Open up your camera like you're going to take a picture and hold it up to the QR code on screen right now. A little link will pop up at the top of your phone. Just tap that and it'll take you right to the guide. I think it's the best investment you can make in your garden this year. That's what I've learned from my Amish neighbors about making the only fertilizer your garden will ever need. If any of this changed how you think about feeding your soil, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And if you've been composting for years and have tips of your own, share them. That kind of knowledge helps everybody. Thanks for spending time with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.